Well, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. We talk about a lot of stuff here, not just the New York Mets, but we do have a New York Met rumor in this video for you to chew on. And of course, please subscribe to this channel as we go along. This channel's doing really well. Getting close to 1,000 subscribers, but we're hoping to get to more viewed hours as part of the monetization that YouTube has on here. But here we go. So as you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. New York Mets are a disaster. Former Met is having an issue, and that's Jacob deGrom. As you know, he's going in for Tommy John surgery. The second Tommy John surgery in his career. He's been dealing with multiple injuries over the last, really, several years, going back to the New York Mets. And this elbow has been an issue. I mentioned in previous videos when it came to Jacob deGrom that the former general manager and president of the team, Sandy Alderson, had said that he had a problem with his elbow. So I guess the elbow finally gave out 2 years after the fact. But there are rumors now about replacements for Jake. And we're going to get into it from fan-sided. In the wake of the Jacob deGrom news that the high-priced off-season signing for the Texas Rangers is going to miss at least the next 12 months after undergoing Tommy John surgery, first reaction was obviously just general sadness. It simply sucks to see, but the next reaction was how the Rangers will replace him. Now, the rumor is that he might not be back until 2025. With the MLB trade deadline still just under 2 months away, there are a multitude of possibilities for the Rangers to explore as they look to bolster the rotation of the best team in the American League West in order to hold that position. Having said that, they don't need to go star hunting. Yes, guys like Marcus Stroman, Aaron Nola, Dylan Cease, and several others could possibly hit the trade block ahead of the deadline, but that's not a role Texas needs to fill. Even if deGrom was supposed to be the club's ace, he hasn't been needed with Nathan Eovaldi taking up that mantle and followed strongly behind John Gray and Martin Perez. Now, I'm going to mention a few names here that are interesting. It's from Jeff Pazan. From Pazan's reporting, it seems that the Cubs and Detroit Tigers might be the best places to look for starting pitching. Specifically, the Rangers could be interested in the likes of Drew Smyly or Kyle Hendricks in Chicago, both nearing the ends of their deals as veterans, and budget options, or in someone like Michael Lorenzen in Detroit, who is at the end of a one-year deal too. All of those options, based on their situations, contractually and talent level, could be traded as a much lower cost than any of the name brand options, but could serve the ultimate purpose of allowing the Rangers to round out the rotation with a quality arm in the wake of deGrom's injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. I think that they will be active. They'll be an active buyer, that's for sure, considering where they are in their division. Now, a team that was thought of as a team that's going to put on a fire sale was the Chicago White Sox, but that doesn't seem to be necessarily the case. The White Sox are kind of in the division. The Minnesota Twins are only one game above 500, and they're in first place. That's you're talking about a bad division. And the White Sox, I believe, are only 6 games behind. So with that in mind, it seems like their fire sale is kind of on hold at the moment. And Fanside says this for weeks now. We've been expecting a fire sale from the White Sox at the trade deadline. After all, the team was stagnant for much of the offseason and then started the 23 campaign in disastrous fashion, looking like one of the worst teams in baseball. So sports and all indications signal that the team could ultimately just start selling the roster for future assets and rebuilding. Yes, the White Sox entered play on Thursday at 27-35. My God. 8 games below 500. But there are 2 bigger factors to consider. First, the AL Central is a dumpster fire as every team is under 500 after the Twins loss on Thursday. That puts the White Sox within 3.5 games of division lead. Wow. Well, within striking distance. In addition to that, Chicago's been noticeably better than every other AL Central team since the end of April, posting a 2014 record over that span. Not only is that winning baseball, but it's 3.5 games better than every other team in the division. Now, to point out a couple of things about the White Sox. 2 years ago, they won 93 games. Last year, they won 81 games. So it won't, and it's basically the same team, other than that you have a younger manager there. You don't have Tony La Russa there now. Now, if Tony was there, they'd be much better shape than they are now. But They're in striking distance. So really, it kind of behooves them to sort of stick around. Can't you see a team being under 500 and going to the World Series the way the format is right now? You could definitely see that. So that's kind of what the White Sox are kind of looking at. To be only 3.5 games behind the Twins. The Twins aren't that good. And Correa, to mention this, Correa's gotten off to a terrible start for the Twinkies up there. Just terrible. And he's been terrible. He's been a terrible offensive player. And he's had all kinds of problems with his heel. So I guess it was smart that teams didn't give him 12 and 13-year deals. And finally, about the New York Mets, there is a rumor about the Mets monitoring the situation with Reds closer and the brother of Edwin Diaz, Alexis Diaz. I'm starting to wonder why they put this out there. But we could talk about it here for this video. It would cost the Mets a lot to bring in Alexis. He's a young reliever. And the Mets really cannot afford to trade any of their young players. They're an older team. The team is more likely to trade their veteran players right now. And the word is here from New York that the Mets aren't going to move any of their top prospects. They're even worried that they won't even move Mark Vientos, who needs to play every day. But, I don't see this deal coming through because I don't think that any team would be willing to give up what the Reds would want. And I don't think it would be a good trade for the Reds. Just go with a very young team. They had a very young team. They have a very young team that needs to play together. I know there's been talk about Jonathan India maybe getting moved. I don't see him being moved. Just play him. They got Ellie De La Cruz, one of the best prospects in the game. He needs to play every day. He needs to be in the big leagues now. They're a young team. It doesn't make sense for the Reds to be doing this kind of move. And the Mets would overpay this to make this kind of a trade. It would be doing it out of weakness. It wouldn't be doing it out of strength. The team is really struggling in just a horrible way. Obviously, the Mets need a closer just for this year. Edwin Diaz is going to come back next year off of this injury that he's had. So there's no real reason to make this kind of a move. And he's not a free agent right away. He's got 4 more years after this year to be a free agent. So it doesn't really make sense to make this kind of deal for either side, either for the Mets, and certainly not for the Reds. Just go with a young guy. You don't have to worry about him. You have another year with him. I think maybe 2 more years of non-arbitration years. Let him, and he's, say, 14 games out of 14 opportunities. Just leave him where he is. There's no reason to make this kind of a move. But you let me know what you think about that. It's interesting to talk about. I think the Mets put this out there because they want to just sort of distract everybody about how bad the team's been playing. I think that's kind of why they put that out there. But thank you for watching this video, of course. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.